Okay, in your previous algebra classes, you were given graphs that look like this, and you were asked to find the range and domain. And if you were looking for the domain, you needed to know how far to the left it went and how far to the right. But these points would be labeled for you. And to find the range, you need to know how far it went down and how far it went up. But again, these points would be labeled for you. So we're going to ask a very similar set of questions because it's necessary to answer the range and domain issue. But we're going to have to use some calculus and algebra to answer that. So to find the range, you need to know how far down the function goes. And you need to know how far up the function goes on our little graph here. Well, it's clear this is how far down it goes. This is the absolute minimum value of the function. And we need to know how far up it goes, and it goes up to this point here, and this is referred to as our absolute maximum value of the function. So how are we going to find those points? Well, when we have a graph, which is always a very nice place to start with looking at the graph, I can see this point here is going to be very easy to find. Why? Because this function is restricted to these set of x values. So, because it's restricted to these set of x values, I know the x value here is 5.2. If I want to find the y value of the function, I just plug it in. So, I will do that. And from one of my previous problems, I was working this. Come on, calculator, turn on. There we go. So I already have the formula in there. What I'm going to do is take 5.2 and store it as x. I'm going to recall my function by going backwards up a couple spaces. There we go. And let the calculator calculate the output for me. And there we go. This is the end. This is not a rounded number. This is exact, so I'm okay with using this as an exact value. 15.408. Make sure I wrote that down. Yes, I did. So this function has an absolute highest location at or of 15.408 at an x value of 5.2. It's very important to remember that the function is a y value. Very, very important. So when I talk about the absolute largest or absolute maximum value of the function, it's just another way of saying what is the absolute largest value of y. So you have to be very careful when you're being asked this. Are you being asked for an x value or a y value or a point? A point is a location. So if I ask you for the location of the absolute maximum, key term, location of the absolute maximum value, then you would give that answer as a point. If I ask you, what is the absolute max? Oops, gotta have myself. Value of the function. Well, since you know the function is y, then the absolute value of the function is the y value that is the largest. then that answer must be 15.408. Of course, it's conceivable that I ask you, for what x value does the function reach its absolute maximum? And again, if I ask you what is the x value, the answer is 5.2. So you have to read the question. You have to understand exactly what is being asked of you. That's expected. Now, let's talk about that absolute minimum. Okay, so in this case, it's not so easy to get this absolute minimum value from the function. I didn't give you that point, but we know it's going to happen where if I was to draw a tangent line, that tangent line's slope was 0. Now, or the derivative of the function goes to 0 at that point. So the absolute minimum, this is what I know. So again, we did this we did the exact same one in the last video, but I'll go ahead and redo it. I'll take my derivative, set it equal to 0. Oops, sorry, that's a 10. And solve for x by factoring. And it's going to happen at x equals 0, or 3x minus 10 is 0, or x is 10 over 3. Well, looking at the graph, clearly the x value is not 0 here. The x value is 10 over 3. So I still haven't found the absolute minimum, but at least I know where it's at as far as the x value. Now, we plugged this in before. Let's see. 10 over 3, store it as x, and then bring up my function by backing up into the formula, hitting enter. I'm going to expect usually an exact value unless told otherwise. People always say, where do you want me to round? Never. I never want you to round unless I tell you in the problem to round. So, I'm not going to round. The answer is negative 230 over 27. So again, the absolute minimum value of the function is 230 over 27. That's one thing. The absolute minimum value of the function is at the point 10/3, comma, negative 230 over 27. The absolute minimum value of the function happens when x is 10/3. So these are different things I can say, which means those can be different answers to different questions. Careful with that.